This is 218th day of Ukrainian resistance. This is Media Center. I'm Vasily Samokhvalov. We start the next briefing. And today we'll discuss a very important but a very difficult topic. We'll talk about care for children who've been orphaned during the war. So first, I would like to give the floor to Volodymyr Frydrak, the acting head of the Children's Services Offices at the Department of Humanitarian Policy of Lviv City Council, who will share with us the insights into the problem in Lviv city and region. Thank you. Good day, everyone. Tomorrow we have an event, and this is the World Adoption Day. And the day before this day, I would like to raise the attention on the children who've been orphaned, who need foster and family care. Let me quickly talk about the different forms of care for the children, and then the statistics of the people and the children who need our love and care and family. Currently, the Children's Services Office has 532 children who are orphaned who don't have the parental care. Every year, starting 2012, we've been recording 92 children. The priority for us is to find homes for these children, to find families, and 90% of these children have found new families, but there are children who still need to be found a loving home, so we are working hard to help them find it. The war has change the situation as there are increasingly more children who need family care, who need new families. We are working hard to help children find new family homes. We are promoting the family homes for the children in mass media, and we are effectively supporting those wanting to adopt a child or those considering it. We are helping children find qualitative support and be prepared for placement in a family. And now I would like to separately focus on the family types of care, and these are adoption, custody, adoptive family, foster family, and family homes. The adoption is a priority, a kind of care for the orphan children, children without parental help. Out of the 532 children, 103 children are standing for adoption. But we have just 65 people wanting to adopt the children. As of today, in Lviv territorial community, there are 311 adoptive families who are bringing up 386 children. Now, the custody, and this is a specific kind of care for the orphaned and children without parental care. Usually, this is done by the people who are part of the family of the children. And then, when if the parents die or not perform their parental duties, the child stays in their own family, which is definitely less traumatic for them. There are 316 such caregiving families, bringing in 417 children. Now, the adoptive family. As of today, the foster care. There are 14 such foster families, bringing in 23 children. Starting in 2007, we created 32 foster families. The family-based childcare home. Currently, we have 11 such family-based childcare homes, bringing up 74 children. As for the family-based childcare home, I would like to thank our partners from the non-governmental organizations. It is very important to promote this kind of upbringing and to enjoy the support of the partners and to ensure loving and caring family for the children. 8 of the currently functioning family-based childcare home out of the total 11 have been created in partnership. The family-based childcare home are a particular kind of care for the orphan children, children without parental care. is because children from bigger families have the ability to grow up together. We have such family-based childcare home bringing up 7 children who are related, who are siblings. Now, I would like to talk to the people who are considering adopting a child. The ideal child to adopt an orphan child or a child without the parental care doesn't exist as such. This is the war, the coronavirus, economic instability, or anything else is not a reason not to make the first step. There will always be excuses, but there are people needing a loving, caring family are out there now. There are lots of excuses, pretexts, and obstacles to making the first steps. But the key reason holding people back is the fear of the unknown, the fear to not be the best parents for the child, the fear that the child would not be ideal, not the way they imagined the child. But there's one single thing we need to know. There are no ideal grown-ups, there are no ideal children, there are no ideal parents either. We are all far from ideal, but this makes us special. And this makes us who we are, unique the way we are. So if you're considering adopting an orphan child or a child without the parental care, so don't waste the time. Please go to the Children's Services Office, and on our behalf, we will give you the legal support you will need. We'll give you advice. If need be, we can give you counseling support to make the first step. Also, I would like to highlight some stereotypes and some prejudices in the society. Any parent wanting to adopt a child, they picture an ideal child they would like to adopt. Usually it's a child under 6 years of age, a child who doesn't have the siblings. But it can take a long time to find a child to match that picture. Usually the children we have are children 12 plus, and usually it's 2 and more children. So I would recommend to those considering doing such a good deed, because adopting an orphan is a good cause, to look at the facts and think that right now they can do something very good for the child waiting for a home. Considering the willingness to adopt a younger child, then the teenage children, children with a lot of siblings, and children with disability have a very low chance of finding a family. All children need a loving home. So please come to the children's services offices. And considering tomorrow we have the World Adoption Day, we are holding an event where we would like to invite all the people who considered adopting a child for the event. It's going to be held tomorrow at 12 o'clock at the charity home at the Orphaned Center of the Lviv Greek Catholic Church at the address Korolenka 7. We're waiting to welcome you there. We will discuss the different forms of care with you. We'll give you a chance to talk to those who have already adopted families into their homes. We'll give you a chance to talk to the children who've grown up in such homes, and they can share what the family meant for them. And they will also compare the way they lived in the institutional care facility and the way their lives changed when they were adopted into a loving and caring family waiting for you tomorrow. I'd like to thank you, and I would like to give the floor to other keynote speakers. I would like to give the floor to Maria Sakvuk, a foster mother, who will share her personal first-hand experience and her story with us. Good day. My foster family story is a long one. We've been a foster family for 16 years already. We were one of the three families who joined the pilot project in Lviv when the foster family was adopted as an institution. As many, I was listed as a foster parent. We too asked the support of the Children's Services Office. We wanted a child, a small one, less than a year, preferably. But I was worried about making a choice. We didn't have the children, so will we manage? We had our own fears. So the reason a foster family appealed to us was twofold. Firstly, we didn't have to make the decision, do we have to be confidential or not? Because this is a public form of care and there's nothing about confidentiality, because with adoption there's a secrecy of adoption. Secondly, another point was very important for myself and my husband was that we are given support. We were given counseling and support, and we felt it was important that we wouldn't be abandoned alone. And indeed, it has proven to be very helpful. And the choice of the child, that was very difficult. So once again, the service has offered a child, and we said yes. We felt we were not alone on the road, and it was very important, especially in the early years. We had to find our ways. The children had to find our ways. We learned about being parents, and the children learned about living in a family. We had our joys and disappointments, and often we forget that we are foster pair. We have two foster children who've joined our family, who are now 20, in their 20s, but they're still with us. I think they will always be with us. They're an integral part of our family. And owing to this foster parenthood, I have a very good community of people who are like-minded. We have a lot of common interests. We have a lot of common events when we support each other. When we were starting off, we supported each other, and now we're just close and good friends. That's so beautiful. Thank you. I'd like to bring in Sister Yulia, a tutor mom at the family-based childcare home. So tell us more about your calling, your service, your work. So tell us more about it. Good day. For the last 8 years, I've been living with the children. For the last 2 years, I've been working in the family-based child care homes. Before that, I did service at the institutions. And this ruined my comfort area, because this is the first anyone will face if they want to reach out a hand to the children who don't have the parental love. We have to abandon self-care, because in a family-based childcare home there are 10 children, and even the residential area is chosen. It's usually a big apartment or several apartments, and then the rooms, the kitchen, and the organization of the functional chores of the children and the relationships are very close to the way it happens in a family. The cleaning chores, the cooking, the school homework, and the tutors. You are a mother and you're helping them until they are in their third year of university, and they can start looking for a job and uh, launch their adult lives. As for adoption, a family home or foster care, it's intended for the children who don't have the parental care, preparing a child for the family. It doesn't happen that way. Often many years go by, and often the children grow up and they are alone. They don't have a family. But I have the experience of the friends who've adopted the children who were in my family-based childcare home, and I'm so proud of them. I'm not going to say the name, but this is Oksana, who is struggling to build a relationship with the child because children bring their deep trauma with them, have no illusion that it's going to be very easy. They reach teenage years and different mechanisms are triggered, and all the genetics mechanism and trauma residue is surfaced. But the quest for life and the love I'm seeing in the children is truly amazing. I'm certain that this will help the children overcome any challenges that will arise before them. Now we are facing novel challenges as the children arriving from the area of hostilities, and in my family-based child care home, we have already taken in a child uh, like that. They pose challenges of physical rehabilitation as they have sustained physical injuries. They will need mental rehabilitation, and we need a lot of patience as the teenagers rising from the areas of hostilities without the families can have very different political convictions, contrary to what we hold in Lviv, in Ukraine, and often we have to have very serious conversation, and it's a serious challenge, but we can prevail there as well. There's another structure where I'm involved in helping care for the children, and together with the Children's Services Office, we worked with the teenagers. These are the boys whose family ties may lead to Russia, with whom we've managed it lasted a long time. The children arrived in the early months of the war and it lasted for months, but they do change their way of thinking, they change their outlook. This boy has left us, but then he comes back to visit us. And Lviv is a special place and it does transform the people who come here. The community, the person, the child lives in until maturity will also change their outlook. So this is a novel kind of challenges. Our patriotic feelings will also be challenged. We are risking adopting the children from the East who will speak the Russian language, which is a challenge to us. It was a challenge for me. The children I adopted were mostly from Lviv earlier, and now we are receiving children from Donetsk speaking Russian, and we have heated debates. It's hard for the girl transition into Ukrainian, but her friend, my foster daughter, is very patriotic. She insists she talks Ukrainian, although they are not even teenage age. So these are novel challenges we are seeing. And definitely the people who will be wanting to take children into foster care and adoption will face them as well. And I have a recommendation. It is certainly a risk, it is certainly a challenge. Yet, if you have some reservations about adoption, you can try foster care, give it a chance, see if you can cope with the challenges, and then find another road. It might also be a family-based childcare home, and this is a bigger community with more children. But before the adoption, there are other solutions that Volodymyr has outlined, and I encourage you to do this. I'm very open to talk to those considering adoption, because those who adopted in my family-based child care home know for sure that I am very open. We talk together about what's best for the child. So I welcome. This is a service. This is not a work. It's definitely a service. Please stay on. I will ask everyone else to join you, and I still have a few questions I would like to ask you. I have the first question, and anyone can answer. How has the war changed the number of children And how has the war influenced the desire to adopt or to go into foster care? Because there have been some speculations about as much. I think I did say the number of children who need to be placed in a family due to the war has increased. As for by how much, let me give you the numbers. We received 189 messages about the children who don't have the parental care, and 106 of them were confirmed. 74 children were placed in families. This is not adoption. These are children who don't have the parental care. Their parents hopefully will return. We have touch with some of them, and they will return. This is a somewhat different form, but there are children needing family. Their numbers are growing. As for the adoption, as of today, in Lviv, 5 children have been adopted from the beginning of the year. Those wanting to adopt a child, I would urge you to go to the Children's Services office at the office nearest to you. Please file your application for adoption and then come and meet the child. Adoption definitely works. I have this kind of question for you. These are times that are hard on us. How do you start thinking about shouldering responsibility for yet another person? And how do you break your internal barriers, reservations about a child becoming part of your own family? What would you recommend to people who are starting to consider it? It's not an easy question. During the training, we ask the people, how did this idea come to you to adopt or to foster a child? And often people draw on their childhood experience. Some remember living close to the institution or children studying in school who needed a family care. And often in their early years, they decided that one day they would dare and give a child a loving home. Some make the decision, some don't. We all have our lives. But the first thing I would recommend is to seek out information. There are many forums where people can read about it. There are many publications, there are many stories, video blogs, and a wealth of information where the parents share the information. They share their first-hand experience, their life stories. You can ask a counselor, you can talk to the children's services, talk your case through, ask questions. People working there have dealt with many families, so don't hold back on this desire. I'm dreaming when the time comes when adoption stops being a secret, as well as other kinds of foster care. You're not doing anything special, you just adopt a child. And when we come to understand that there are many similar families like ours who have adopted children, and this stops being a topic where these people become heroes or the something opposite. Other these people are praised for doing it, or to the contrary, such families become the focus on attention when the people look at the clothes, the phones they carry, their school marks, and often the whole school community centers attention on this child. If you adopt a child and this becomes a norm and this stops being a secret, then many families will find it much easier. But be open, talk about it, discuss your thoughts, seek the support of others, and seek support. And then you will find the answers whether you need it right now or should you wait a little. And one last question to Volodymyr. How do we make it a norm? How do we make it part of the standard? Often it's about a family who cannot have the children and they resort to adoption as their last resort, and everybody feels sorry about them. So how do we make it a norm? Cynical as it may sound, we will still have more children needing care in the future. They will still be making their way here. We'll be receiving them. So how are you going to promote it? Because here in Lviv, in the western part of Ukraine, this will perhaps be in greater demand. So what is your strategy about it? It's the most interesting question. Thank you. I believe in the people of Lviv, and I will speak from my first-hand experience. We needed to place the children who found themselves without parental care. These are not orphaned children, but the children who are temporarily needing our care, who need to be placed in a family until their parents are in hospital or stranded in the temporarily occupied territories. When we realized the need, we reached out for help. We suggested people filled out the form, and in a matter of days, we had 230 applications. So I know we will stand together and we will help the children who need our help and care and love most. As for adoption, I would say that Maria has a very good point, and Sister Yulia has a valid point that you just have to become more open. And you have to start talking to the people who have already taken a child into their family. Then they won't feel special. They will know there are many people like them, as there are over 300 families living in Lviv. And adoption is just a calling to help a child. Often the stereotype that children don't have their own children and they adopt, that's not always the case. By far, mostly children have their own children, parents have their own children, but they feel the urge to help one more child, and they have love to give to this orphaned child. And to continue on the previous question, I would like to say, don't look for excuses why you can't adopt a child. Don't look for excuses. They're there in the law. They're clear constraints for being an adoptive parent. So please, if you have this idea that you'd like to adopt, please come to the Children Services Office. You will get expert advice. If need be, you will give support. If need be, you will get counseling. They will be with you every step of the way and work with you through all the fears. There's no ideal time to adopt a child. Remember that. Thank you. We had Volodymyr Frydrak, acting head of the Children's Services Office at the Humanitarian Policy Department, Lviv City Council Maria Sakvuk, the foster mother, and Sister Yulia, tutor mom at the family-based child care home. We talked about the care for the orphan children.